For more on Europe's issues, we're now joined by Nicholas Economides. He's an economics professor at NYU's Stern School of Business. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Nicholas, let's focus on the ECB first. Mario Draghi saying he will take what action is needed, that there is a unanimous position on this. But so far, nothing's been done. Is it time to act?
I think he will act. He said he's expected to buy assets. I mean, he hasn't said he's going to buy something specific, but he says he's expected to. And he also said that it's a unanimous decision. So he's pushing in that direction. But I think there is resistance from Germany, and we'll see how it turns out. We're not sure.
Well, there is resistance from Germany because they're concerned that they'll end up paying the tab if sovereign bonds are bought, and they're concerned that it'll be a transfer of wealth from richer to poorer countries. Is this a valid concern?
I don't think so. I think if you look at a close federation, like if you look at the United States, there are transfers happening all the time. We don't say it very openly, but the wealthy states like California and New York, they subsidize Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and so on. So I don't think that in the end, European integration is going to work without transfers.
Well, you mentioned the U.S., and the U.S. Federal Reserve has just wrapped up its quantitative easing program, QE3. The ECB has not taken a move as bold. Is this now the time for them to really go for the full-blown stimulus plan?
In my opinion, the QE2, QE3 are extreme and desperate measures when you don't have any authority to do a fiscal expansion. And given the situation in the United States with Republicans controlling Congress, there couldn't be a fiscal expansion, and we resorted to the QE2 and QE3. And something very similar is happening in Europe because they don't have, because the countries don't want to do fiscal expansion. So
what should the ECB be doing, and what is likely that it can do?
I think they should be doing an expansion, but I think...
What do you mean by that?
I mean buy assets. I mean
sovereign bonds as opposed to private assets, which they have been buying so far.
That's right. They need to buy sovereign bonds. That will cut interest rates, but at the same time will allow for more liquidity in the economy and will allow businesses to grow and to get more loans and so on and so on. So it will have an expansionary effect on the economy.
All right, let's change focus and talk a little bit about what's going on with Luxembourg and Jean-Claude Juncker, who is now the president of the European Commission. He is facing some heat because Luxembourg, there are revelations that they made some interesting tax deals for a number of companies there, including the likes of IKEA, Pepsi, Deutsche Bank, Amazon potentially in that list as well. What are the implications of this?
Well, I'm not completely sure what it's going to mean for Juncker, but generally there has been a move to have more strictness in the application of tax law. The United States has been very hard on Switzerland on tax law, and now there are other countries following. But unless you're able to create global rules, you're missing it, because people are going to take away their money from Switzerland and Luxembourg and put it in the Bermudas or who knows where. So you need some global rules that are going to be enforced everywhere.
So you think this will just blow away in a number of days? You think it'll affect his position as EC president?
I think it does weaken his position. I don't know if it's going to be a serious weakness or a small weakness.
Well, in the meantime, Juncker is in a fray with British Prime Minister David Cameron. The two of them getting over it because David Cameron does not want the UK to pay extra membership fees to the European Union to the tune of about 2.1 billion euros. And Juncker and him having a bit of a spat, saying that he has a problem with other European leaders. Those were Juncker's words. How significant is this? To what extent could this escalate?
I think this is significant, and it could escalate to worse. What's going on here is that Cameron is playing to the Eurosceptics in his own country. And he's saying, well, I'm going to play tough, and I'm not going to pay them. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, he can't really get away with not paying. Well, he's just saying it.
The deadline is December 1st, and he says he's not going to pay. And you mentioned the skeptics in the UK, and there has been a movement amongst some in the UK for the UK to leave the EU. Is this a possibility? Is this looking more likely now?
I think it's a remote possibility. I don't think it's likely. If you're talking about what I would bet is the probability that the UK leaves Europe within the next 5 years, that's less than 10%. So it's a remote possibility.
Okay. We will be following that closely. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Nicholas Economides, economics professor at NYU Stern School of Business.